Hey crew, I've got the key to this Jeep Wrangler 392 and today we're going to see what it's like to live with. Let's start with remote start. Good morning neighbors. Yes, it is a bit of an uproarious start to your day with the 392, and just as it shook the truck as the V8 came on, it might shake your neighbors awake, but the idle isn't too crazy. Now let's check out the spacing in my driveway, which is 16 feet wide by 19.5 feet long. I've got the Wrangler parked right there at the edge. I'm pretty proud of that. Sitting next to a new Ford Explorer Platinum that my wife is reviewing. If you want to check out her content, it's at Mobile Mama on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. She's got that one in maybe 6 to 8 inches. And with that parking, there is plenty of room to walk between the vehicles and even wheel a wagon through, but not a double stroller for kiddos. The nose, or rather just the winch of the Wrangler, is hovering over the gutter at the front of my driveway, and that does leave plenty of space at the back to walk in front of the hedge along the path to my front door. When first hopping in with the key fob in my pocket, putting my hand on the door handle unlocks all 4 doors. And I'll wait until I'm in a parking lot to show you the real door opening space. For now, we'll just take it to there. And I could use this side step and the grab handle to get into the cabin. Close up that door. Hello cabin crew. Thanks for joining for this day in the life in the 25 Jeep Wrangler 392. In this video, I want to see if life with the V8 Wrangler is all fun and games, or if there's a heavy trade-off you have to make. To be able to actually drive the Wrangler, I do need to put my foot on the brake and hit the start-stop button. That takes over from remote start. And now let me show you where I would stick the items I bring with me every day. Like my smartphone, which doesn't have a pad to go on. It can just go in the cup holder here or in this little dedicated slot in between the 2 cup holders. Then the key fob that's in my pocket right now could stay there, or it can go on its own little home right under the mechanical handbrake, which I will now release. Inside this console on the upper level, I managed to squeeze my sunglasses, but there isn't any protection for the lenses, so I hope they don't get scratched up. On the bottom level, I just have my wallet in here because my 32-ounce water bottle fit inside the netted door pocket, but the rest of the door pocket is pressed against the seat, so I can't also put my GoPro accessory case, and it doesn't fit inside this console with the way the top portion comes down. So this is just gonna sit in the seat next to me, at least until it's jettisoned forward under some hard braking. Oh, and I tried the glove box, it doesn't fit there either. So the storage space inside this Wrangler is a little bit restrictive for bigger items. Now I'm gonna throw in my belts, pull this back into drive. I do not need to worry about the clearance of the gutter at the front of my driveway because this is a Wrangler. We're just gonna be fine. I'm gonna crank the wheel and hopefully clear, oh no, my neighbor's kid's basketball hoop that fell down. I'm just gonna actually go pick that up. Though it is not a particularly chilly morning here, I can and will turn on my steering wheel heating because I'm just a sucker for the way that feels. I also could turn on my seat heating if it was colder. I am a little bit surprised to see the absence of seat ventilation for the $108,000 that this vehicle is as tested. So if it was a hotter day, I couldn't be cooled off with just the seats. With the remote start, I can also have the climate control set to where I want it to be right when I get in the vehicle. So for the most part, especially on colder days, you are gonna find an accommodating cabin, a comfortable cabin to start your day. And the argument could just be made, if it was a hotter day, if you were in the middle of summer, you would just put down the top as your first operation. We have the Sky one-touch roof equipped to this 392. And that means simple conversion technology. You don't have to fiddle with the soft top. You don't have to take off the Freedom panels. You just get exposure like this with a single button press. Though I am typically off to grab a cup of coffee at this point in the morning, I have a physical therapy appointment I need to get to. But I will show you before then a few pieces of critical daily driving interaction. Things like the turn signal sound, which is not an unpleasant tone. Now let's demo the turning radius with that wheel fully cranked. Oh yeah, that is a terrific turning circle, so tight. To get those 35-inch tires to pivot in those wheel wells like that, that's impressive. I've closed up the one-touch top for this next demonstration. You'll see why in a second. But let's say someone is acting recklessly on the road. And for safety, you need to alert them to their error. You could either just press the exhaust button and plunge your foot in the throttle, or you could use the horn. And if you do use the horn, what are you going to hear? Oh, it's so whiny. I much prefer this. This is the better method. Hey, what are you doing? Act more responsibly. Geez, last night's storm has got a hangover into today. I'm actually kind of impressed because of all this wind at how not crazy loud it is inside this Wrangler. Whoa, though the truck does get moved around with big forces of wind that come along, and I have to counter steer to keep it pointed straight. Kind of just comes with the territory being this high up off the ground, I suppose. But I'm gonna have to brave the weather because I've been making progress here at Ignite Physio with the shoulder pain I've been having since my CrossFit days years ago. And now that I'm playing tennis all the time, I've really got to improve this. And Ignite Physio has been making progress. Wish me luck. Jeez. Yeah, that's gonna be sore tomorrow, but it's good. It's really good. Okay, it's time now for some coffee. So I'm gonna stop in here at one of my favorite spots, Lion and Lamb, inside Watermark Church. There it is. And now that I'm parked next to someone, I can show you the proper door opening space. This is one defined notch, and honestly, that's easy enough for me to get in and out. I can go a second notch, which is as far out as the door swings, and still I'm not anywhere close to touching the Model Y. And as for my parking job, you can see my tires are right there at the fringes of the white lines on the left side, and on the right side, the tires are actually on the white lines. So this is a wide truck, and so you will need to park as carefully as possible. There it is. Decaf latte. I could give you my usual spiel about how caffeine and I don't get along, but you know what, in this case, with a V8 like this, who needs caffeine? Returning to the around townability of this truck, this is a more, just by itself, the Wrangler, before we even get into the V8, the Wrangler is a more lively and involved driving experience than a competitor like the Ford Bronco, which has an independent front suspension and is crossover based. This one, ladder frame construction, solid axles in the front and back. It changes things. You're going to be bouncing all over the road surface. You're going to be managing the play of the steering to keep it pointed straight. It takes more of your attention, but that's kind of part of the appeal. But admittedly, it is a little more taxing day in and day out. Now, the V8 doesn't really change that formula all that much. There aren't on-road drive modes to choose from to change your throttle sensitivity. There isn't like an efficiency or eco mode. You just have a perky throttle, but one that is pretty controllable. And the 8-speed automatic smoothly changes gears. The braking also has well-dialed sensitivity. You can apply the appropriate amount of pedal pressure to smoothly come up to a stop. If you are going to be sitting at a light for a while, sorry, your foot is going to have to be pinned to the brake pedal because there isn't an auto hold like some other vehicles. And as I said, these solid axles are going to jostle you on the road surface. Thankfully though, with all the tire sidewall of these 35-inch tires and the, of course, suspension dampening, you are pretty well insulated from the bigger bumps disrupting you. And these seats themselves are fairly comfortable. The driver's seat has power adjustments. I could find a decent posture, although in this vehicle, with vantage point off-road being so important, you are perched up pretty high. I've got plenty of headroom, but there's no way to really lower the seat down. It's not a sports car though, so kind of makes sense. Visibility is okay. It's not perfect. You've got a high dashboard, and the bulge of that 392 hood means that it's hard to tell where the front of the vehicle is, and because you have that protruding bumper, it's better to just be careful with when you're approaching things, especially in a parking spot, to make sure that you aren't going to nudge them by accident. View out the side with the tall glass is solid, and the pillars aren't huge blind spots. With the headrests up, there is something of a blind spot compounded with the D-pillar back there, but you can also lower the headrests if you don't have people in the seats. What it boils down to is that this truck is fun to drive around town, really just anywhere. And for some people at least, that's going to be worth the trade-off of comfort and compliance. And speaking of fun, it's Mobile Mama! Encore, encore. Actually, no, we're good with that. What are your impressions of the back seats of the Wrangler 392?
It's actually pretty nice. I like this leather.
Nicely padded.
Yeah, I don't have enough thigh support, but I have enough leg room.
That's
you
true.
don't look like you do, though.
No, my knees are pretty close to the back of the seat. I mean, they're not touching, so that's good. And this is
But
my
they
seat.
slide far under
That's
the
6
footwell.
feet
That's
tall.
pretty
Yeah,
good.
no, good foot pocket room.
Yeah.
Agreed with you about the thigh support. That can only really be an issue, though, on longer trips.
Mm-hmm.
Your legs start to get a little tired. We've got air vents, window
4
controls.
USB-Cs.
4 USBs, 2 USB-Cs,
right,
2
right.
USB-As.
Sorry.
AC. Console. That's right.
Whoa,
Cup holders.
nice and squishy.
It is squishy. That's quite good. Headroom's terrific. Got plenty of that. Back angle. What do you think?
It doesn't go back further?
This is it.
That could be problematic.
On a longer trip, yeah. So fine for adults. What about car seats? Let's do that next. And I've got the forward-facing car seat here. Getting this in is not a problem at all.
Yeah.
You have the rear-facing.
It was a little bit more challenging.
A little tougher with that?
You kind of have to maneuver a bit.
Yeah. Just like that. Even as an adult, actually, the opening isn't large, so you gotta do that same little contortion dance you were just showing me. You were demonstrating, I appreciate that. But the car seats are in, and Christina's gone. So how'd it go?
It wasn't bad, but I did have to move this seat forward a bit.
Okay, so we'll see what that does to your legroom up there.
Yes.
And
How
I
about
didn't
you?
move my seat at all. Talia's feet are gonna come to right here, so they're probably gonna bonk into the seat back a little bit, but it's passable. What's the deal with you? I'm not asking in general, just right now. Because
Do you want me to
we
spill?
don't have enough time. There's not enough time.
This is good. It's pretty comfortable. I would be hitting every so often, but
The footwells are fairly deep.
yeah, they're
That's
nice.
helpful.
I'm
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Can we say it?
Yes.
Wrangler 392 is family approved. Now I'm off to get my daughter from school. I love your artwork, Talia. This is so cool.
Yeah, really.
You know what? It's the same color as the truck. And this car, though more faded. But yes, it's the same color as the truck. Do you want to climb up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't open it.
Okay, I'll open it and then you climb up. The step.
Pull up.
Oh, that was so good. And you got the grab handle. It's like a climbing wall. And you're in. You did it. All by yourself.
Wow, cool.
What do you say? Should we go get a treat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evil.
Acai bowl? Okay, we can do that. On our way there, I gotta show you a couple cool things about this truck. For one, it makes some pretty cool noises. Do you wanna hear them?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, blast off.
Wow, that's cool, nice.
You like that noise?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me hear you try to make that noise. What does that sound like? Ah! Okay, truck's turn now. Okay, your turn. Now you guys in chorus. You know, this truck does something else pretty cool, Talia. You want to see?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can feel air up high on the top.
We can feel air up high on the top. Let those hands fly. Woohoo! It's kid approved. Good. Okay, that's been established. All right, Talia, we're here. It's Berry Brand acai bowls.
Yes.
That is good.
That tastes good.
It does. It all tastes good. You have a refined palate, my dear. Yesterday we covered around town ability and family friendliness. Today we're looking at performance and commuter friendliness. I'm going to start with a real world 0 to 60 test. I've got my race box set up here to record. I'm going to hit the off-road plus button, which may not make sense because we're on the road, but it's going to turn off traction control and it's also going to perk up the throttle response. From here, it's just foot to the floor. Oh my gosh. And arrive at 60 in 4.5 4 seconds. That's proper. But also, who cares how long it takes? That just sounds so good. Off-roading is up ahead, but we're going to be on the highway for a while to get there, and that will give us a chance to see about things like passing power. Yes, we did just see the 0 to 60, but what if you are in the mid-range and there's rocks flying on you from this truck up ahead? So you need to pick up the pace and get in front of them. Well, you can do that without issue, that's for sure. And even if it isn't a necessity, you may want to just... Unfortunately, delicious V8 thunder wasn't the only noise we heard as I've started to gain velocity. I'm going to quiet up here and we're going to listen to the cabin volume at these speeds. It is, unfortunately, another very windy day, and that does mean that the wind noise is to a greater degree than it normally would be. But even without that, I've driven this truck on a calmer day, and still, this is not a well-insulated vehicle, and this is not an aerodynamic shape. So that wind noise is always going to be a factor. And if you listen closely, you can hear some hum from those BF Goodrich KO2 all-terrain tires. What that's going to mean for you is that if you want to have a conversation with fellow passengers up front, you'll have to elevate your voice for them to hear you. In the back, you're basically going to need to shout. Even if you're by yourself, if you have a long highway commute like this at speeds like these, or heck, even if you take frequent road trips, this might wear on you after a while. Which begs the question, is there any way to distract you from all the noise entering into this cabin? Well, there is the Alpine premium sound system that we'll take a listen to now via the wireless Apple CarPlay, and I found the screen to be super responsive. I do like that. I also like that there is a physical volume knob here. So let's get tunes pumping. And I know max volume is at 38, so we're already at like 65, go up to 70. Need a little more, need 75. Okay, so it succeeded in distracting me somewhat from the outside noise. I could still hear it even over the bump of the sound system. But the quality of the system itself isn't amazing. There is distortion as you crank the volume knob. The higher frequencies are sort of lost. It does well in the lower or mid-range, but this is not going to be an audiophile's dream. It's gonna work. It'll get the job done. But if you want a better audio experience, you're gonna have to go aftermarket. I mean, Alpine is already aftermarket, but you get the idea. There is a little bit of good news. If you're gonna be in traffic often, you will have adaptive cruise control to reduce some of the driving fatigue, at least the stopping and starting. You won't have to worry about the throttle or brake. You can maintain a following distance to the vehicle in front of you. There is no lane keep assist, no lane departure warning system. You just have to keep full attention, keep your hands on the wheel at all times, and the Wrangler does move around, as I mentioned, on the road surface. It's not as bad as Wranglers in the past, but it does require more oversight than something with an independent front suspension like the Ford Bronco. All right, we're leaving the pavement behind, and that means I'm going to move into the full-time four-wheel drive, and I'm going to turn back on the off-road plus mode, and I'm going to open the baffles and the exhaust, all to allow for the most entertainment. Disclaimer, the Wrangler 392 is not a desert runner. It's not built to take big punishment at high speeds. It doesn't have a remote reservoir suspension. So if that's what your family's after, you're gonna wanna look elsewhere. Can it take you along a fire road in a hurry with a smile on your face, 100%, can it take medium-sized impacts in stride? Totally. But you have to do all of that with an abundance of caution. You can still have loads of fun. But keep your head on straight. The Fox monotubes we do have here do a decent job absorbing the punishment. And those KO2 all-terrains bite in as best they can to give you as much traction as possible. The brakes are responding well out here. It is pretty top heavy, so it wants to roll a little bit. But if you know how to manage it, you can get the most out of it. And the Wrangler never says no to a good water feature. The other, more traditional use case for this truck would be to turn it into a billy goat and scamper up a steep ascent like this one. So for that, I'm gonna move into neutral and bring the transfer case down into 4 drive low. Then I'm going back into drive. And now I've got tons of low end torque at my disposal. I'm also in the process now of disconnecting the sway bar up front for greater wheel articulation, because I'm gonna go for this harder line here off to the side. I'm also gonna pull up the forward facing camera to monitor where I'm gonna place my tires more carefully. Feel that front tire dip down and then pull myself on up here. Thankfully we've got sliders on the side and underbody skid protection, but I really don't need it because the ground clearance and the short overhangs mean I'm not getting hung up on anything. This is easier than any vehicle I've done this in. I don't need to touch either the front or rear locking differential either. The truck just gets the power to those tires effortlessly. And we've already made it to the top. There's our visual reward. And now the descent will be accomplished via off-road cruise control. So my foot is off the brake, it's off the throttle, and I'm just using these shift paddles to adjust the speed at which I descend. This also works for ascents, but that part's more fun to do myself. To put it simply, if there's anywhere you and your family can dream up to go off-road, to have an adventure, this will be the truck to get you there. But while you're making those plans, do yourself a favor and bring some external fuel tanks, because this thing guzzles gas. EPA rated 13 mpg in the city, 16 on the highway, 14 combined, means you'll run through this 21.5 gallon fuel tank in about 300 miles. That's if you saw 14 combined. I've been seeing 10.6. Ooh, that wind is whipping again. Anyway, at current fuel prices of $4.69 for 91 octane gas that the 392 does require, it's gonna cost me about $100 to fill this tank, and there isn't capless fueling, so I gotta work a little harder. Now let's see how this truck handles hobbies like cycling. I'm gonna load my bike into the back, and what that requires after swinging out the tailgate and lifting up the glass is to fold down these rear seats. I can reach in and do that without needing to open up the side doors. Now it's just about ready. I'm gonna throw down a towel to protect the fabric and get the bike inside. The question is gonna be whether I can get this bike in here without taking off the front tire. And the answer, without having to touch the front seats, appears to be yes. Easily. And though it was much easier to get the bike in with all seats down, I could bring a third seat back up if I needed. Out we go. And away! Well, crew, at the beginning of this video, I pondered if the V8 juice was worth the squeeze. I mean, if all the noise and fun of the 392 was worth any potential livability issues. And here's what I've concluded. The Wrangler is already, in some ways, more of a hassle to live with than other off-road vehicles, so why not go all in on HEMI excitement? Highway driving and commuting is loud, but that's with or without the V8. The ride's a little bouncy around town and the steering's got some extra play to it, but that's not really made any worse with the bigger motor. The only real 392 specific downside, I mean apart from the six-figure as tested price, is the fuel economy. You'll be visiting gas stations like that quite often. It's bad, but you and your kids will love driving around town and off-road with these comfortable seats, the HEMI bellowing, and the one-touch top letting in sun whenever you feel like it. This truck is just downright fun, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this day in the life. I will see you again next time.